stealing Dawn's job, and I don't feel good about it.
And like a red, white, and blue phoenix rising from the ashes of political bipartisanship, we are back. And this is Salt of the Streets podcast. And today is November 11th, 2018, Veterans Day. The time is 11:42, and it's a Sunday this week, episode 39. And welcome back, everybody, to the Salt of the Streets podcast, your one and only source for social and political commentary on weekly news, pop culture, and sports built from the ground up for people like you and me, the everyday normal person. Join us as we discuss life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and continue our endless efforts to bridge the gap between people and information. Not as always, we are your hosts. I am Colin.
I'm Morgan.
And just like you heard it, this week, Don is out hard. He got some kind of stomach bug this week and just, knocked his ass out hard. So filling in as the special guest / co-host for the week is what did I call you earlier? The powerful Morgan, a.k.a. the Ginger Ninja. Once again, joining us in studio. And so, Morgan, what do we tell the people what we're going to talk about today?
I took notes when you were telling me, so now I know exactly what to say, and so I don't mess up. We are going to talk about Jeff Sessions, the former, keyword former, Attorney General, the midterm election results, which I was pretty impressed, also a little sad, also lots of mixed feelings about those results.
I can't wait to talk about that.
And of course, fantasy football.
Always.
Because Morgan has all the knowledge, even though my fantasy team is tragically not great.
I mean, you can have all the knowledge, but the draft is the draft, and you can't build your perfect team every time, right?
I know, and I just feel like the draft this year I felt confident leaving the draft, and then week 1 came around. And I was like, well, just kidding. This is going to be great.
And then week 1 came around.
It's like, I have lost more than I have won. And that has never happened to me in all my years of fantasy football.
Yeah, sure.
I have never lost more than I've won.
Whatever you say,
I'm
Morgan.
telling you, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah, because, wait, did you guys play last year? You did, right?
Yeah. I came in like third last year. I was worried that Dawn wasn't going to invite me back into the league because
that's right.
I wasn't
sleeper.
Sure. Yeah.
Or the, what do you call it? A ringer.
Like the hustler.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't that good
Nobody
last year,
knows you. You're coming in here to steal all of our money.
Yeah. I was worried. I'm actually a little relieved that I didn't win last year because I feel like that would have been way worse and I wouldn't have been invited back. But anyways. Oh, yeah, of course, before we get into all that deliciously heavy stuff, just a reminder to take a second to rate and review the show on whatever platform you're on right now, whether it's Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Apple iTunes podcast, wherever you are listening to this. Give us 30 seconds. Do Morgan a favor here. Get on there, give her a nice 5-star review, write her a nice little note in your review comments. It'll make her feel great. I will read them. I will read every single one.
And that would also greatly help out the show. And of course, I almost forgot this again, but the Salt of the Streets t-shirt right here, if you get in there and you give us a review and you screenshot to that review and send it to us on one of our social medias, you'll get $5 off this amazing Salt of the Streets t-shirt. And you can do that by following us on Instagram at Salt of the Streets, give us a like on Facebook at Salt of the Streets, and check out the weekly blog and everything else that we post at saltofthestreets.com. This week, Dawn did a wonderful blog post on the I'm going to blank his name now. I just want to call him JBP, but Jordan Peterson's new book, 12 Rules for Life. He's doing it on rule number 7. And I highly recommend everybody go to saltofthestreets.com. Check it out. It's a great read. Nice, short, sweet, gets to the point. Very awesome. If you are the type, of course, to enjoy a video podcast and you're not already watching on the YouTubes, you can go to YouTubes and check us out at Salt of the Streets on the YouTubes. And I think with that, that's about it. I think we covered the bases. trying to keep it a little short, sweet, because the opening is getting a little lengthy.
It's cumbersome.
But
I feel like you're winded.
Yeah. I mean, I am winded. Jeez. And then, I'm not really smoking weed today, but just enough to get rid of my headache from all the beers last night. Oh,
yeah.
That's two casts in a row. I'm not really hungover though today. I don't feel hungover. I just have a headache.
Just a headache.
Instead of drinking water all day yesterday, I drank beer. Surprise, surprise.
Shout out to WRB.
Yeah, WRB.
We were there.
Yeah, hashtag WRB, Western Red Brewing.
Yes.
Downtown Paulsbo. It's a
You even joined
place.
the Mug Club.
I sure did.
So impressed.
We didn't do a pre-show this week, mostly because it's Sunday. This is all kind of last minute, short notice, and so we don't have the luxury of time today. So we're just going to we're going to take our usual pre-show, like catching up on the week and vamping. We're just going to inject it throughout the show.
Absolutely.
But I was going to say, I think we're going to talk about midterms first because that kind of spirals off into the AG world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to talk a little bit about what we did yesterday.
Okay.
Because we all went out yesterday and had just a fucking great start to the weekend.
Yeah.
So midterms were last week. It is the 11th again, which I think I said in the opening. Yeah, it's Veterans Day, so a big hearty thank you to any and all veterans out there. From one of your own, I appreciate your service to this country, as I understand what it takes to at least do. I mean, I didn't do a full 20 years, but I did almost 10 years, and I understand that it's not always an easy thing to do, especially if you have a family and, not to mention if you're a combat veteran, that's a whole nother ball game. So huge thank you to all the vets out there who are listening and those who aren't from the Salt of the Streets. I know Don would echo my words. He has very close ties to the military and his family. Mm-hmm. So big shout out to all you veterans out there, all you active duty service members, Reserve, National Guard, all you. You're awesome, and I love you.
I'm going to cheese ball it really quick.
Do it up.
I'm so honored to be sitting next to my favorite veteran. And I always take such pride in making you your special baked good every time. And you're just wonderful. And I have mad respect for you. And I think that a lot of veterans, like a lot of the time, we kind of just forget how much of a sacrifice they make for all of us to continue to be Americans. And I just want to thank you hardcore for doing what you did. And I know it's not easy, and I know there were definitely strains on your family and your life situation.
Always
and
is.
I just have mad respect for everybody, and you especially, for serving our country.
Well, I'm going to try not to cry. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoy your cobbler.
I'm really, really bad at taking a compliment.
I know.
Dawn can probably attest to that pretty well.
We all see it live.
I just want to say thank you very much. I know I have to do sarcasm and be like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to take praise. Even indirect praise like that.
I know.
That's funny.
I know.
Well, thank you though, Morgan.
You're so welcome.
And, but yeah, like I said, it's the midterms were last Tuesday. I actually, I stayed up so late.
Did you watch? Yeah.
I watched so much coverage.
Yeah.
I'm such a political nerd like that. Mm-hmm. I was watching, and I know who I was watching was a rather conservative bunch of guys, because they all come from the Daily Wire. So this is Ben Shapiro, Michael Clavin, or Michael Knowles, Andrew Clavin. They say their God King, Jeremy Boring. Mm-hmm. He's one of the other owners. And they all get together and they sit there and they drink whiskey and smoke cigars and just, commentate the entire thing. And it was like 5 hours long.
Holy moly.
That's but an it was
investment
fun.
Of your time.
Yeah, but it was fun. And it was a wild midterm. There were some very dramatic races that I was watching.
Yeah.
But we'll get into those. I kind of want to hit, because we had talked about, because you had actually asked us to cover the initiatives on the ballot and all that good stuff. And so let's go over what happened in the state real quick on those initiatives.
Yes.
So we'll start with, everybody's favorite, I-1631.
That's what I wanted you guys to cover specifically, because I wasn't sure how I was going to vote.
Did we give you enough? Did you have enough to kind of help make an opinion?
Yeah, it was funny because I currently am unemployed. And so I've had a lot of time on my hands.
There's a backstory. I'm not just being a jerk.
Yeah,
we know she's going to be very.
There's a fun story with that. Anyways, so I tuned in and I watched your podcast live for the first time when you guys went through the initiatives, and I had my voters pamphlet out and I had my ballot out and I was taking notes in the book and I was like listening, and then you said something that kind of pissed me off, and I like started arguing with the TV and was like, wait a second, Colin's not in the room. And my dog kind of like perked up and looked at me and she was like, come on, girl.
That just sounds like an average Tuesday whenever we hang out.
Right?
It's like, well, no.
Like, let's wait a second.
What are you talking about right now?
So anyways, yeah, it was super helpful. And I wish I had brought my voters pamphlet because seriously, that thing is highlighted and noted up. And you guys, it was really helpful to listen and
I think I finally figured out why I didn't get a voters pamphlet. Because my mail goes to mi madre's house.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
And that's also why I had a CK ballot. And so lessons learned. Hey, how are you? Welcome to the world of being a responsible adult. And but I imagine that she got it in the mail with the ballot and then just didn't.
Sure. I got my voters pamphlet way before I got my ballot too. It came like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before my ballot was delivered, which I kind of appreciated.
Yeah, that is nice.
Because it gives me extra time. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, 1631.
The carbon emissions fee measure, because it's not a tax.
It's not a tax.
It's not a tax, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But yeah, that did not pass.
Which I was shocked.
Well, you got to remember, Morgan, not everybody in Washington lives in Seattle.
No, I know. I know. But I was, like...
It was close, though.
Yeah. It was super
see if
close.
I can pull that up.
And I used to live in King County. And so, everybody in King County, I feel like a majority of them voted yes on this ballot or this initiative. And after listening to your podcast and reading through, I actually ended up voting no on it. It was really hard for me because I am a super duper environmentalist and want to save the planet. And I really try to make sure I don't leave a footprint. And
we do what we can,
Yeah,
we do what we can, but it doesn't necessarily constitute legislation. Mm-hmm. And even if it does, it has to be the right legislation.
Yeah, and this just wasn't it. It wasn't the right one. And I feel like the big home run hitter for me to vote no on this was that 6 of the biggest producers of climate change, whatever, carbon monoxide, everything, were exempt from this initiative and these fees. And I'm like, that is 60% of the cause of climate change. How are you going to leave them out of this initiative? That makes no sense. So that's why I ended up voting no on this one, because over half, that's outrageous.
I would just only push back against your phrasing of 60% of the cause of climate change. But
yes,
absolutely. I do not disagree with you.
But yes.
I just don't, I'm not going to accidentally align myself with that specific.
That's fair.
Just because I like to, otherwise if we didn't have differences, and I was talking to Don about this. We've been texting all weekend. I'm going to make sure he's still live and everything's good.
Yes.
And we were talking about something, and it was, after doing this show for 39 episodes, a lot of our views kind of coincide with each other. We end up thinking a lot alike. Mm-hmm. And it's really important to remember that, we should think independently. And if we arrive to the same conclusions every time, that's one thing. But if we're just kind of agreeing with each other all the time, it's not necessarily a good thing. So I like to keep that, what do they call that? 5 degrees of separation. Because otherwise we'd have a very boring relationship. We wouldn't be able to sit there and have wonderful political debates all the time.
My bleeding heart liberalism would just not come out as much, and that would be so sad.
And we're going to talk about that later, because I want to talk about bleeding heart liberals, especially the quote unquote Bernie bros.
Oh man, I still election night I was wearing my Bernie t-shirt.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I felt good about it. I'm really glad he got reelected.
You think he's going to run in 2020?
I don't think so.
He's too old, man.
Yeah. I think he's still making a huge impact, and he's happy with the impact that he's making. I
think he's helping to, I don't know. I don't know if I could say I don't know if his involvement's a net benefit or a net detriment to the Democratic Party, even though he's still technically a independent.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not aligned with the Democratic Party.
He's technically not, but you know, I mean, he is kind of the new face of the new. It's like this Democratic Party offshoot. It's it's interesting. It's not so much the establishment. Oh my gosh, establishment. I can say that word. Well, I'm looking at this thing and I'm reading initiative, and I'm trying to say initiative and establishment. See, I can't even do it again. But you know, until he came on the scene, there was one way the Democratic Party went, and it was kind of left, but still kind of center left, and it was mostly social issue stuff, you know. And then it kind of started to go a little farther left in the Obama era. And then all of a sudden Bernie came along and it just went It just took a hard left and slight, you know.
Yeah, but I think it's important to remember that he really is not, he does not label himself as a Democrat. He does not.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't go out and promote the Democratic Party. Yeah. He's just very much out there promoting his beliefs and what he thinks should be. Yeah, and I appreciate
now that it's farther away from, remember he kind of jumped on board like after Hillary kind of stole the nomination from him.
Yes.
He was kind of butthurt for a minute. And then all of a sudden it was like, all right, well, you know, screw that Trump guy. You got to get out there. You got to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he did jump on Team Hillary for sure. But again, he wasn't aligning himself with the party.
Not. But I think what's interesting with the point I was trying to make before we get way too far off topic.
Yeah.
I think he has helped spur on you've seen the Democratic Party kind of reflect a lot of his values.
I see where you're going.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to that initiative, 1631, it did. There was 56 to 43%. Okay, so 56% of the state.
That's more of a margin than I thought there was.
But still, 43% of the country. And I mean, right now it's only saying, this is Ballotpedia, it's only saying 84% of the precincts reporting. But for the most part, I think that's pretty much where the numbers are going to lie.
Right.
But still, you think about it, that's a large chunk of the population, voting population.
Absolutely. 43%. And I think that's kind of where, you know, I was lying, is like I was very middle of the road. I didn't want to vote against an initiative that was going to better the environment. But I also couldn't get on board with this initiative because I felt like it wasn't doing its job in the correct way to better the environment. And so I think a lot of people, this one especially, it was really convoluted reading it. The arguments for and against were very polarized, and you really couldn't find any middle ground between them.
Yeah.
And so I feel like voters especially, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this was a hard one to pick yes or no on. At least for me, it was really hard because I just feel like there was so much potential for it to be great, and you kind of want to believe in it, but then there's that underlying like, nah, this isn't going to work.
Like if I wish I had enough faith in our government ability to run agencies and boards successfully and correctly and efficiently.
Yeah.
I wish I had that faith in the system, but I don't. And that's why I feel like it's buying a money pit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do that. We could do tax initiatives, maybe. I don't know. There's a million other things you could do to help promote things like that. But even then, some of those get kind of complicated.
They do.
But either way, I'm glad it didn't come to fruition. So moving on, 1634 was it would prohibit the local taxing of groceries.
Yes.
So in other words, kind of prohibiting, say, like a city government from passing particularly, I think in this case, it was aimed at the sugar industry, the sodas and energy drinks and all this stuff. But it also does it's a very broad blanketing thing that says just no more local taxes on groceries at all. Period. Can't do it anymore. And I remember we had a very interesting debate about this because I wanted to try to take the side. I wanted to play devil's advocate for my own opinion.
Right.
And I found, I think, a halfway decent libertarian-minded argument against something like that, where it just I don't want a law on the book saying that we can't tax our own, society the way we feel we should be taxed or whatever. Even if I disagree with that kind of taxation altogether, you're still pulling the decision away from the voters. But either way, I think that kind of would have been pushing it because I don't see, especially where we live, I could see that kind of going wrong.
Yeah, real quick.
That would rely, I think, that would entail a vote of confidence, I think, one that I couldn't be comfortable giving a local government.
Yeah.
And so that initiative did end up passing, prohibiting the local taxes on groceries by with 84% of the precincts reporting 55%. That was another one that was closer than I thought.
Right? I thought this one was kind of going to be blown out of the water, like
I was really 80-20
type of thing. But again, I feel like, and I'm going to keep going back to that voters pamphlet, but this one also was not an easy one to understand and comprehend. And it took me, I read this initiative so many times, and it took me listening to your podcast to finally be like, oh my gosh, okay, that's what this means. I can now understand why I need to vote the way that I did.
Well, I'm glad we did justice to it.
This one was tough.
You say that and I can't not smile. It's hard. Well, that's what we try to do too, because we understand that especially in the world of politics and legislation, there's a certain way things are written.
Yes.
And there's certain, and there's reasons why they're written that way.
Yeah.
And to be able to interpolate and interpret the, try to find all the subtext and, throw that shit out of there or use it all. The context is important. Everything's very interesting. It's kind of why I looked at like who provided
the funding.
The majority of the funding for it. Just because not that it necessarily matters in the end, but it provides context to why it's there.
Exactly.
Because there's a reason we do have lobbyists, and they, and I hate to say it because I have my stomach is turning when I say this, that there's a reason for lobbyists, and it's a legitimate reason. It's just, it's one of those things that it's just gotten so shady.
Yeah.
It's disgusting to try to justify it.
Once upon a time, I wanted to be a lobbyist.
And there's a reason why, because the intentions are good.
They are.
Right?
Yeah. But it's become so convoluted these days that you just don't really know anything anymore. At least that's how I feel as a voter.
Yeah.
I just don't know who to trust anymore.
Well, shit. Don talked about in his blog post too this week about, the amount of time and energy that it takes to try to stay informed enough to actually have a good opinion is exhausting. And it's hard on your life. It's not easy. Although, again, if you read Don's blog post about this week, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because easy things are never... No. The things... I'm going to pull it up and look at it because the actual rule itself it speaks for itself.
Well, and that's why I appreciate Don's post so much and his blog post, because one, he has an amazing way with words. And after I read it, I always feel so inspired. I'm like, yes, I can do this. Like, I got this. I'm going to conquer the world. Check.
You should read that book.
I know. I really should.
Fascinating. So rule number 7 out of the Jordan Peterson book, 12 Rules for Life, is pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. So in other words, the easiest option isn't always the best.
Yeah.
Things that are worth having are worth fighting for. And to be informed is something we should all want.
Yeah.
To know what the fuck's going on, to be able to make a legitimate argument one way or the other, to have a legitimate opinion. And if you don't understand what's going on, because it's so convoluted and poorly reported and whatever, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
And then you get this initiative ballot in front of you. You're trying to weed. I don't understand what this means.
Mm-hmm.
Then it comes down to much like 1639, which is the gun control initiative, which we've covered in depth on the show more than once, which also did pass.
It did.
Which is, it's an interesting thing, but I kind of expected that one to get passed pretty quick, but yeah. But like I said before, if you're not totally informed about the situation around at least the initiatives,
mm-hmm.
then the vote basically becomes like, am I for gun control or am I against gun control?
Right.
Which is the wrong way to think about it.
Yeah.
These things are very specific for a reason.
Yes.
And so now in the state of Washington, you cannot own a assault style rifle
mm-hmm.
until you were 21, and then go through essentially the same exact background checks and permitting wait periods and blah, 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 blah as a pistol,
mm-hmm.
which a lot of people make an argument, including your amazing fiance.
My wonderful fiance.
And it's a very legitimate argument that now an 18-year-old man can, or woman, an 18-year-old adult, I should say, can leave the home, go out on their own, start a life. They're officially an adult, but they cannot buy a semi-automatic rifle or a pistol to protect themselves in their home. It's it's a legitimate argument.
Yeah, for sure. It absolutely is.
It's kind of, it's almost the same type of argument as if an 18-year-old adult can go off and die for his country, why can't he come back home and have a beer?
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways.
And Jake and I had a super long conversation about that. And because we are super polar opposite on this one. And me being in the healthcare field and knowing a lot about the brain and everything, I voted yes on this one, clearly. But I kind of reminded Jake, the adult brain, the adult male brain doesn't mature until the age of 25. It is not fully matured until then. Females, it ranges from what does my computer say? It says 21, but typically it's between 21 and 23 that the female brain fully, quote unquote, matures.
I don't know.
Scientifically, that's what the numbers are.
I'd say everybody's closer to 29 or 30 in my book.
And that's what I think too. I just think there's so much development that can happen in your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, that I agree with Jake's standpoint on why does age need to be a factor. Let's just remove the age piece of it. Let's make stronger background checks, maybe a psych eval, whatever. Let's make it a little harder. It would be harder to regulate for sure, but let's find harder ways to do it and take the age piece of it out, which I can understand, especially from his standpoint. I just think, again, let's have a fully matured brain before we put anything in our hands that could cause harm. But then again, that goes with driving a car. And, I get both sides of the situation. I totally do.
And I wonder if, let's say if you're a younger person, like a 12, 13-year-old, and you're in a responsible gun-owning family and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
As long as the registered owner is with you and under your direct supervision, does this cause, can you take your kid out to go hunt with you, or can he train him how to shoot, or do you have to now wait to 18?
Yeah.
Because he just can't, does it just go with ownership and the buying and selling of? And when I was reading through the initiative, that's what all the focus was, is you can't buy one and register it to yourself. So I bet you it's in that safe transport and safe storage section. That
safe storage piece was really short, but it should have been.
It was it was all new too.
Yeah.
The state Supreme Court made them go through and underline all the additions to the initiative and what do you call that? That crossed through the. Anyway, it just crossed out essentially the what they were taking out, and it was really interesting. It made it really easy to see what was new.
Yeah.
But even then, it's still difficult to read and understand in proper context. And
what were the numbers on that one passing? Do you have them up?
I don't have them but I can. Where is it? 1634. That's the grocery tax.
It's 39.
Oh, yeah. It was in my gun control one.
No worries.
I'll just pull it up real quick.
But yeah, I had a feeling that one was for sure going to pass, especially because of the culture of our society right now.
Yeah.
And all the media attention around gun violence and the ownership of guns. But that was in Washington, being a blue state historically.
Which is strictly by numbers, not by area.
Absolutely.
Always.
Strictly by numbers.
Always like that.
Oh, yeah.
Very strange.
Yep.
So it looks like 60% of people voted yes in that one.
Wow, that's a bigger margin
than any of them so far.
Wow.
Yeah. That was interesting when I saw the number. I mean, it's not surprising, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of makes you go, huh.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the size of the districts. You know, I was doing that the other day for looking at that district map.
Yep.
Like, I think it's District 2, which is, I believe, the Seattle district. Don't quote me on that. Fact check. Dawn, I'll give you something to do.
Yeah.
But it is like the smallest district there is. And it's just so densely populated because it's the big city. It's very interesting. But then again, you have the rest of King County and Snohomish County. And those are all pretty progressive places to live.
Those are my people.
And then, and so the last one I think that we want to hit is that police training and criminal liability in cases of deadly force measure.
Yeah,
that was 940.
40, thank you.
And that one also passed with 59.58% at 84% precincts reporting, which, again, I don't know how accurate that number is, but it's so late in the game now, we basically know,
That's pretty much it.
Right? That is.
Yeah.
And so now this one will be really interesting to see what happens because this one I ended up coming down to a roll the dice type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I don't know if this is going to fix whatever problems we have. I know every single law enforcement agency, they stood against it.
Yeah.
You know, all the police chiefs association, everybody in the departments were against this thing. And so now they're going to have this good faith test, you know, which I think is so vague. I don't like it, especially in legal situations, judicial situations. And because you can interpret that any way you want.
Right.
And I want to see what the requirements are going to be to meet this thing. And I don't know what this is going to be. Is this just going to force cops to put themselves in a situation where they will just refuse to pull the trigger on anything?
Right. Yeah, I kind of regret not taking the time to go to the local station and have a conversation with the sheriff or an officer just to kind of see why they were so against this. Because you're right, it was unanimous across the board. They did not want this to pass. Yeah. And so I regret that as a voter, not taking the time to have a conversation with one of them to kind of get their viewpoint on it. And in the future, I think I'll handle my vote differently because I do think there's good in this initiative, but like you said, it is kind of vague.
I think the intents are good.
Yeah.
But how it's carried out, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see with that one. I got mixed emotions on it, but I don't know if this is the answer. I kind of highly doubt it is, but maybe it's something different we can try, and hopefully we can figure some stuff out and we can adjust moving forward.
And I think like the understanding of different mental health capacities and all of that would be beneficial.
Oh, definitely.
It just kind of depends on how that's going to be delivered.
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes around the board in all first responder
absolutely
careers. I think there's, especially with our better understanding of mental health and the issues there that come from just, the average day in the life of a police officer or a firefighter or a paramedic. I mean, that's some serious trauma that you could experience every single day of your life. Those people can, you could walk out 20 years later and you're a totally different person than you were coming in.
Yeah.
And there's got to be, I mean, if anything, it's worth studying on a psychological level. You don't have to go in there and at least try to fix the problem. I think we should try to diagnose an after effect of a life as a, first responder.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can have a conversation about, okay, well, maybe there's a better way to run these, systems, I guess. And, a different approach to how things are done, maybe.
Yeah.
Just for the benefit of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you got police officers out there that are, having nervous breakdowns or, just having some kind of PTSD inducing situation like every other day, or just the effect that you can be surrounded by seemingly the worst of your society at all times because you're always going somewhere. You're always responding to a call or, in a paramedics situation, you're always going to go to a bad situation for the most part. Yeah. There's something about that can't quite be healthy. There's got to be a way that we can kind of look at the effects of that, and hopefully the legislation that just passed might help kind of maybe give us some more info,
some information,
some more data we can look at. I like data.
Yep.
But that's about it as far as our local midterms. I mean, Derek Kilmer, our representative, of course, got swept in as per the usual. And unfortunately, Maria Cantwell, I won't call her other name, which is very inappropriate and nobody should say it.
Right.
But it sounds like a normal nickname down in Australia because they just love that word down there.
Stop it. Better than the alternative, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I kind of see them both on equal grounds. They're both kind of establishment party members, party loyalist.
Yes.
They're not really, when I look at somebody like Derek Kilmer, who's very passionate about government reforms,
right?
Especially in like the spending side of things and just responsibility, I don't see them voicing any of those opinions. It's all just, we're here to fight for you, blah, blah, blah. And then kind of just lifting off the standard party talking points. I don't like any of that because I don't like any of the standard party talking points, but it's Washington. So she got back in. I think Patty Murray will be on the docket next midterm, I believe. Maybe not.
No, yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, she's been a long-standing senator, so I don't know how long her term limits are when they come up or whatever. Either way.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just want some new blood in there.
Yeah.
I'm ready for some newbies.
Except for I don't want the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes.
What?
I do actually. I do have a lot of sympathy for her right now. Just to kind of pivot off of this before we switch into Jeff Sessions. There's been a lot of articles about her lately now that she won the spot by a vast margin, by the way. I think she won it at 90 percentile.
It was a lot.
Huge. But now she was talking to somebody the other day about how this is the first time she's ever been able to, she just bought her first couch and, this, that, and the other thing, because she's not a professional politician.
Right.
She's not rich. She's a bartender. Last year at this time, she was a bartender that went on the campaign trail.
Yep.
So she didn't have any money. And now she's worried about trying to be able to afford an apartment in Washington, D.C. And I don't blame her, man. I feel bad for her.
Yeah, you can kind of empathize with her a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely can. And it that's like an unforeseen side effect of, your average populist kind of, younger voices that are coming up like that. They don't have all the money in the world.
No.
They might be saying the right things for their district to get elected, but who knows what... you just have the money you got when you start, man. It's weird because in the world of professional politics, you don't see that. Right. Because they're all one percenters, which is very important to remember. When you're looking at one percenters, it's not just the CEOs of mega corporations. Yeah. It's also our politicians.
Your elected officials.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? And we put them there because they work for us, right?
Well,
food for thought.
And also we don't have any other options. So
yeah, that's true.
That's the thing.
We could always do the Bernie. We could vote Bernie.
I did. Proudly. Proudly did it.
What do you think about that? If you are an activist, a young activist who is interested in politics and wants to go up and do the right thing, and you get up and you go, I don't have any money. I mean, you can get a campaign behind you and this, that, and the other thing, and you can actually get paid from your campaign as like an LLC or something like that, I think. But still, what are you going to, you get elected. Now what do you do? I mean, you're going to hitchhike to Washington?
You find some roommates in D.C. Like,
all the newbies.
Yeah, you got to get a house with some lobbyists and everybody
no. I
live together and coexist.
There's enough lobbyists in Washington that if you need an apartment, you can get one. You just got to sell your soul to the lobbyist.
You just got to find a roommate.
But Carolina asked me something about that because all these articles have been coming out. What do you think, like, we should, considering the fact that at least in Congress, I think the Senate might be a little different, but at least in the House of Representatives in Congress, we should have almost like a congressional barracks buildings, where we can put like just normal, like a government barracks, like a military barracks, but a nicer one. But, essentially, these are our representatives that we know have to go to Washington at some point. Should we provide them some kind of housing, like an official, this is your congressional apartment. It's, it's in a building. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like that would be a super tough sell because everybody's like, these politicians don't need more money.
That's right.
So, I mean...
well, hey,
maybe a campground.
A campground, like an RV hookups and stuff.
Yeah,
there you go.
Like pitch your tent. And, I don't know.
Well, where is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from? She ran in the Bronx, I believe.
Yes.
But is she from New York the whole time? She probably doesn't even know what an RV is, or much less. She actually, depending on what part of New York City you're from. Like a full-blown RV, that's like 2 apartments in New York.
That's why I'm saying like a tent. Bad. I have my Taj Mahal tent. How many people does it seat, Jake? Huge. Like 11 or something, maybe 12. Jake's brother, Jonathan, named it the Taj Mahal, so that's just what we refer to it as now. But, I mean, that's probably 3 apartments in New York. And I just use that at Lake Chelan on the property where I have a bathroom. My air mattress and I have a rug. Jake bought me this great plush rug to go at the foot of our air mattress.
Yeah, and then you guys have the big air mattress too, right?
Oh yeah. It's like 24 inches off the ground or something like that.
That is the definition of glamping.
Oh,
the only thing you need is a generator with a satellite dish, and
we have a generator. And Jake bought one of those portable power packs for his phone so we could watch Riverdale in bed.
Oh, on
his phone screen because he had a bigger phone than me. Has a bigger phone than me.
Riverdale. That's the Archie comic remake, right?
Season 1, great. Season 2, meh.
And okay. I heard this the other day and it confused me. Is Sabrina the Teenage Witch in Riverdale?
No.
I thought there was. Is there?
They reference Riverdale in the new Sabrina show on Netflix, but it's her. What is her town, Jake? Oh, I wish you were here for my brain. He's the other half of my brain every day. But they reference Riverdale in the show, and I think the town that Sabrina lives in is outside of Riverdale. But don't quote me on that. Also, Sabrina. Oh my gosh, it's a great show.
I've heard it's like mad dark.
It's super dark, but it's
not that fun little Nickelodeon show.
It's not, but the cat finally showed up. I don't remember what episode. What's his name? Salem?
Probably. That sounds familiar.
Something like that. Samson? Salem? Oh, shoot.
I don't know.
Jake.
Carolina would know because I remember she loved the original Sabrina.
Me too. I watched that all the time.
I feel like I watched that too a lot because it was on Nickelodeon, right? Something like that. I can't remember. That was back in the day, though.
I watched a ton of that. Sabrina and Lizzie McGuire. And even Stevens.
I saw a thing. I didn't watch it the other day. It was in probably my Facebook feed. But it was Melissa Joan Hart and, what's the guy's name? There was like the boyfriend, right? That came up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was those two. So like the main stars, they were watching the new Sabrina and like reacting. And I was like, oh, I bet that's interesting.
What a dream.
I heard that shit's dark.
I mean, it is. It's super dark, but it's a great show. I recommend it. Just don't have your kids in the room if you have kids.
Is it pretty bloody?
It's not so much bloody. It's very dark and kind of
Kind of the more satanic version of
not the most
witching.
Positive, not the best example of strong relationships.
Welcome to modern TV, right?
There's Morgan's liberal side. So anyways.
Well, that's
Sabrina.
Yeah, so how many seasons of Riverdale are there now? 2?
I think there's still only 2.
Okay.
But the second season has been really hard for Jake and I to get through, and we gave up, I think, on episode 4. It's just really cheesy this time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not as, the first season was great. We were zoomed through that one.
So is this a comedy?
No, I mean,
it's like a rom-com, or is it...
no, it's not really. It's a drama based in Riverdale, but it's not really based on the comic.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And it's just...
I know a lot of people that dig it. I mean, I think Dawn and Jordan really love that show, too.
Have they been watching? I'll text Dawn
so.
about
I believe
season 2,
so.
because, I have mixed feelings about it.
Well, I think let's go ahead and knock out the news about
Sessions.
The late, great Attorney General, who, by the way, his full name, I just discovered his full name today. Jeff Sessions' full name, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III.
Ooh, I love the name Beauregard.
And now I'm remembering. Dawn, don't yell at me, because I'm pretty sure you've told me this before. Ooh, sorry, buddy. I listen to you, I promise. I love you, buddy.
Sometimes.
Hope you're feeling better. But yeah, that's a strong Southern name, isn't it?
Name.
My name's Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III.
That's like a slave owner name. Sorry.
Who's racist now? Come on.
I mean, I'm white. I can totally say that to another white person.
Yeah, I mean, you're not last in the oppression hierarchy, but you're second to last. You're pretty far down there with me, you know?
Hey, I have got my ancestry DNA back. I'm all over the board.
You are indeed.
Mm-hmm. My skin doesn't show it, but my genes do.
I was going to say, I don't think I saw you, because Jake showed us.
Yeah, Jake's all white.
Yeah, he's some deep...
he's a whole lot of white.
Yeah, he's some very European people, which I'm pretty sure I am too. I can't wait to do mine.
I mean, you guys look almost identical, so...
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
We talked about that yesterday. People mistake us for brothers all the time.
Constantly.
Not brothers at all. I mean, we're brothers from other mothers. But yeah, it's weird too. And the coincidence that these 2 kids met when we were just tiny little kids, grew up together, and we both ended up being like, I'm 6'4", I think Jake's 6'5", or something like that.
6'6", yeah.
Yeah, and we're both insanely huge, and we're both blonde.
Yep.
And
blue eyes,
very interesting.
facial hair.
Yeah, something's up there.
Similar nose. It's weird.
It is very weird.
Weird.
But I don't know how I got to...
We were talking about Beauregard, and then I brought up ancestry DNA because you called me a racist. Trying to prove I'm not, because I'm really not.
In my defense, you might have said something that was borderline racist. I mean, come on now. In 2018 context.
I know, but everybody was thinking it. I just verbalized it. Okay, so jump on that bandwagon, whatever.
You're a Bernie bro. You can get away with basically murder. So anyways, the actual news.
Yes.
Wednesday, within, I don't know. I don't even know if you could say the midterm vote was over at that point.
No, absolutely not.
They were still counting votes and all that. Yeah. But I don't know if it was the White House that leaked it or if it just kind of was officially released. But we have a resignation letter from the Attorney General of the United States. It says, "Dear Mr. President, at your request, I am submitting my resignation."
I love that he put that in there.
Oh, that was
first line. That was at your request.
That's a prison shank to the kidneys, man.
That's the Seattle passive aggressiveness right there. Let's go.
And that's the big news is Jeff Sessions is out, and Trump has appointed President Trump. Has appointed a man by the name of Matthew Whitaker as the interim, acting Attorney General. Which a lot of people are very uncomfortable with because he's kind of, I don't know too much about him.
I don't either.
But he's kind of he's seen as a Trump loyalist type guy.
So do we know where he came from?
Let's see here. Democrats quickly demand. This is from the New York Times that covered it. But the Democrats are calling for him to remove himself, essentially remove himself from any activity within the Mueller investigation, Mueller probe, because he has apparently been outspokenly critical of it.
Oh.
I'm trying to find out exactly.
Continues.
He's a former college tight end. I don't know why that's important, but he's a collegiate football player of some kind, U.S. state's attorney in Iowa. So he's a state attorney. Yay. Another one of those. And a one-time Senate candidate in the state of Iowa. And he has also done some campaign work for people trying to run for Iowa, state government or Senate. So
he's very highly qualified.
Highly qualified to be he's a lawyer. Oh. I guess that's a qualification.
Is it?
But yeah, a lot of people are very upset about this. I will go ahead and say that I've seen something like this coming for a long time. It was just a matter of time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I didn't think it was going to be quite as close to this was the second the midterms were over.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, you're done. I'm gone. But now this new guy's going to actually, he can't just assume the attorney generalship. He can be appointed as acting, but he still has to wait for a confirmation process from the Senate. They still have to confirm him, just like right. Sessions did.
Yeah.
And I would imagine they will require him to recuse himself from the Mueller investigation. Otherwise, he won't get the votes. But now that, again, a little midterm news, the Republicans have gained 2 seats in the Senate. Mm-hmm. And now that kind of pushes the power balance a little bit more. So I don't know how that's going to leak down to the actual judicial committees and the House, the various committees, because those are usually pretty upper echelon guys, yes. Establishment.
Yes.
But you could see a potential problem there trying to get the votes for somebody like that. And it'll be an interesting thing to watch. I haven't heard anything on when confirmations will be scheduled or anything like that.
So is he has that interim title until he's confirmed?
Yeah, essentially. And
okay. So basically this is the guy that's going to be our attorney general.
Yeah, because that's the way.
And no one has heard of him because he's from Iowa. Sorry, state of Iowa. I apologize.
Shots fired. Well, he's mixed around in politics a little bit.
I don't feel like that's accurate. Just working in Iowa, that does not mean you're mixed around in politics. Come on.
Let's see here. He was, and apparently he has connections to a witness in the investigation of Mr. Sam Clovis, who was a former Trump campaign aide. He was the chairman of Mr. Clovis's unsuccessful campaign to become Iowa State Treasurer. So we're talking, mid-lower level state political involvement. But it probably just sounds like you know the right people, you say the right things, and now you're on the right team. Now you can get your foot in the door.
The president's in your back pocket.
I wouldn't go that far. But
if he knows the dude that's involved in the investigation, it's just all drama.
It is drama.
It's just so much drama. I used to love the show One Tree Hill and watched that drama all the time. This whole situation needs its own TV show. I'm telling you, it would make so much money.
This is why I like this crap, because I can't watch Grey's Anatomy.
Oh,
this is my Grey's Anatomy. This is my drama.
Jake watches Grey's Anatomy with me.
I used to could, and I lost it, man. I couldn't do it anymore. It got so dramatic.
Oh, it's so good. Stop it.
It is kind of funny though. Every now and again, I'll watch an episode with Carolina. She has it on a lot.
Oh yeah, we talk about it every week.
Yeah. I just can't do it. Yeah. After McDreamy died, I couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, whatever.
I don't even think I watched all the way up to that.
McDreamy.
Yeah, that's right. So there was one more point I wanted to hit about this Jeff Sessions AG thing. And this is we're looking at somebody now who is coming into the position of AG. How much authority does an acting attorney general have? Mm-hmm. And I would say technically he probably has most, if not all, the authority that a normal confirmed AG would have. But I'm not totally sure about that. And so with Sessions having recused himself from the investigation, the burden fell to Deputy Director of the Deputy Attorney General, who was Jeff Sessions number 2, to oversee the investigation, to run the overseeing of it. And so now, if Jeff Sessions is no longer in office, the Attorney General should then take over the investigation, because that's usually who does it.
Yeah.
But so I wonder if this does go to confirmation, and he doesn't, I don't think, let's see, this guy, I don't know, he's such a wild card. What will he do? Will he try to get in there and start throwing some weight around right away? I don't know how any of this stuff works. It's hard to understand all this stuff. Raise your hand.
Can Trump, the president, oh gosh, sorry guys. Can the president, is there any law or any rule against the president firing the attorney general? Clearly not. But when there's an active investigation going on, I feel like that's going to mess up a whole lot of stuff. And how can you just have a new attorney general come in and run this investigation? Clearly, I almost said Trump again. The president has a ulterior motive in this, I feel like, right?
Not necessarily. On a technical level, this is why it's good that he waited till midterms, because this is a very standard operating procedure to have a cabinet shakeup right after the midterm elections. It's very common.
Okay.
And it makes sense that if you don't like the way your attorney general is doing or what he's doing, you can fire him at the midterms. It's kind of the normal thing. He leaves, you get someone else in.
Okay.
But it is kind of sus that, with somebody who's recused himself from that investigation, just looking at it from that standpoint, I mean, he's done a lot of other things. Jeff Sessions has been very active in kind of upholding and pushing, the president's judicial agenda,
right.
Or not judicial, but, legal agenda. And so it seems kind of suspect that this is just him having the excuse to fire him. Because, he said from day one, ever since Jeff Sessions recused himself, that he wanted, he would have picked someone else if he knew he was going to recuse him, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this necessarily means he's going to hire somebody in there that will try and stop the investigation, because the president can stop the investigation at any time. He could have stopped it at any time, but he doesn't do it because it's political suicide.
Yeah.
And this is no different if you're relying on, your new guy to come in just to end the investigation. It's pretty transparent. I don't think even he is that dense, especially after spending 2 years in the job now. So we will see. We will see. But I hate to say it. Dude. We got to take a quick break because my boss just called me. He has some questions real quick. So we're going to wrap this up and then we're going to come right back in with some more fun political talk.
Ooh, I'm all about it.
And we're back. That was a nice break full of lovely situations. But we're back. And so we had kind of wrapped up our 2 main topics for the day. We're starting to run short on time. So I really wanted to start picking your brain about this Bernie culture. Because I understand a little bit of it, but not that much.
All right.
And so I want to separate the man from the policies.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's so much about the man. Because that's a very strange symbol to be looking at if you're looking at just another old white guy who's, got a lot of money and a lot of really strange power, but no real understanding how he got it or why. Because I think most people resonate with the message that he puts forward, and it's
the message.
It's not the message.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, the message that he pushes forth.
It's a little underlined.
So many messes.
Oh, so many.
I mean, his policies, in my mind, they're just a mess. And which is why I want to help. I just want you to help me understand more about, universal healthcare, universal education, all this stuff that he pushes that I think you support.
I do.
And I'm just curious, I want you to try to convince me that this is, I should be a Bernie bro. I want to understand these people.
Well, here's the thing. I don't feel like I can convince you to be a Bernie bro. I'm not going to take that undertaking because being a Bernie bro is a lifestyle. And if you don't feel it in your heart, then I don't want you to be a bro.
That's true. I'm really happy to understand that I don't think I can be a Bernie bro.
And that's cool. I'm still going to love you either way. But no, I think you're totally right on the sense of like the image Bernie has. Mm-hmm. And I think what it boils down to for me is that we finally have a voice that will represent I'm going to say the millennial generation.
I wouldn't disagree with you for sure on that.
Congress. Yeah. And I think what's important to me is that I have always been a strong advocate for universal health care, basic rights for everybody. I work in the education system. I believe everybody has a right to it. And so it's finally just kind of like, it's nice to have such a strong advocate that is making our voices heard. And I feel like of all the politicians, and you can totally disagree with me, but I feel like Bernie really does take the time to listen to us as a whole and really works to represent us. Because I feel like every time I see Bernie, he's not always necessarily up on a podium. He's kind of more down,
kissing hands, shaking babies.
Yeah, talking with everybody. And that could just be that he has a really great media person and they just good post PR. All the right pictures. Yeah. But no, I feel finally like I myself and my views are represented. I didn't feel that way with Hillary. I loved Obama and I still love Obama, but I still feel like part wasn't totally represented with Obama.
Definitely not.
And Bernie's just kind of my guy.
Okay. Well, I bring up Bernie just because if you were to put it in, postmodernistic terms, he is the head of the patriarchy that is that kind of new wing of the non-democratic party. But, we had talked about that earlier. Mm-hmm. But he's like the leader of the new wave, Mm-hmm. And then you see people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez pop up and do well. Beto O'Rourke down in Texas had a hell of a time taking on Ted Cruz and ultimately lost. But, with numbers in Texas that I don't think I've seen in at least my lifetime. Mm-hmm. It looks like Texas is basically going to go purple any minute. Yeah. If it hasn't already. Yeah. And I don't know, there's a lot of reasons that could be just a more active voter base, or could be, the kind of rise of Austin. Mm-hmm. Austin, Texas is huge now, and there's a ton of people there. There's just more voters maybe. But you have this kind of social populist type of candidate that can be very popular right now. Mm-hmm.
And he's inspiring a movement. I think that there's been a lack of representation for the younger population and the younger voters. And I think it took Bernie and some individuals like Bernie to kind of light the fire under our butts and say, hey, you can actually do this. You can be active. You can be a part of Congress. You can get elected to office. There are so many things that you can be doing. And I think we just needed someone in typical millennial fashion to get us motivated. And I find it so ironic that it's Bernie Sanders.
Right.
But it is him.
An old white guy from the Northeast.
Right. I just, but he's the grandpa we all want. And
he seems like an irritable man, though.
I don't know. I feel like I want to hang out with him and eat some chili and cornbread and just like snuggle on the couch.
Okay. I feel like he's got that old man funk, though.
Maybe a little bit, but
he's got those big furry pussy willows coming out of his ears.
Oh yeah,
he kind of looks like, I don't know. I don't know. It looks like if he was like your crazy grandpa that you'd want to put on the phone when telemarketers call. So that he could have fun.
He has that image, definitely.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I feel like it's just his image. I don't know that that's necessarily his personality.
And I almost want to say, like, he might be in a position that he'll be passing the torch sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think
because you do have a rise of more people like him saying the same things that he's doing anyways. And so let's talk realistically for a second about the possibilities of, say, universal health care.
Okay.
We've seen numbers all over the place right now, and I don't know how these numbers come down, especially considering the insurance industry.
Yeah.
How is it that you could foresee a policy being built to cover every American in the United States for their health care costs? Or do you see that? Or do you just kind of run off the ideal that it could be possible? We should try to figure it out. Or, what is it? What gets people behind that other than just, the seemingly moral argument?
I think the big problem and the issue with it not being an option right now is the big money in pharmaceuticals. And I think if that can be eradicated, then there's more of an option for universal healthcare to become doable. And I think there's just so many factors that go into it that I don't even think I can strongly answer this question, because it would take 12 years to dissect it.
I think that's kind of my problem with it is when people say stuff like that, it's a really good idea. It's a very, noble pursuit. But I think there's no one really having a serious conversation about it. I think that in the United States of America, you could have a affordable, with quotation marks, healthcare system that is, essentially state run. I'm not saying that I advocate for this. I think it could be possible.
Yeah.
But that would entail essentially regulating to a point, almost regulating out of existence the pharmaceutical industry and essentially just completely getting rid of the private health insurance industry, except for, it could still exist in the future, but in a completely unrecognizable, almost small town.
It has to be
local business form,
Yeah.
Smaller than, say, like State Farm Insurance or, really small local type things, I think could still exist maybe, or even regional. But essentially, I think that's where most of the cost comes from is those industries, especially big pharma. That's a huge one. And it's kind of killing me now because I've heard some things about actually somebody from the Trump administration that was trying to cut down on kind of going after big pharma a little bit. Yeah. So maybe I'm going to write that one down. I might look into that a little bit more because that's a really interesting one to do.
Well, and I just find it fascinating every time this conversation comes up, and the amount of people I've talked about it with is like, why don't we reallocate funds? Why does all the money have to be going to defense? Why does all the money have to be going in all these places that I'm not going to say it's not needed, but I'm going to say, do we need that much?
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, for sure. And I think that's a pretty true statement across the board, probably, especially on the federal level.
Especially with public education.
Oh, good Lord.
Come on, guys.
And I think the vast majority of, again, this is just another problematic aspect to all this stuff, is that in general, the federal government especially kind of sucks at streamlining, efficiency. They just don't quite do it well because a bureaucracy by nature cannot really operate at peak efficiency if you rely on people.
It's called red tape.
Yeah, and all that does is increase cost.
Yeah.
For everybody around. And so I think it would be possible, and you hear these numbers thrown around these days. If we were to cover every American with health insurance or whatever, it would cost like $7 trillion a year or something like that. And but I don't know if those numbers are based off of like the current insurance system and all that, because obviously that would just need to go away, because all that does is drive prices up.
Yeah, I can't see the current insurance system being able to continue to be around if
it would have to be a complete tear down and rebuild of not the whole just structure. And not a repeal and replace.
Right.
This is not a complete tear down of the healthcare system altogether. And frankly, it's so big, and so I don't know how you would ever do that. And even then, I'm not comfortable with the government doing it, because it's not going to be done well. But I'm not going to argue that they couldn't. We'll just say that.
No. And I think that's so important to talk about, is just the fact that, like, if universal healthcare were to become a thing, I would not want it to become a thing with the government officials we have right now.
Well, and that's the other thing, is just because you like it with the government officials that are in, whenever it gets in,
right,
our system is going to change at some point. And, unless you make it, something that is protected.
Which is exactly what we've seen with the Affordable Care Act right now.
Kind of, yeah. We've seen some attempts to get rid of it, and then we've kind of seen the funding mechanism, which was, arguably not working to begin with. Now that's been pulled, so now it's definitely in a death spiral, if you want to say that. But, which again, it's not good, because we got to live through it. But
and it's not good because, I don't know, individuals like myself are kind of now in this position where, hey, I'm 26 years old. I now am not covered under my parents' insurance. So I now have to find my own medical insurance. And
it's expensive.
It's just not, it's not an option.
No.
And so now I'm
just not.
I mean, I don't have health insurance right now, and I'm winging it. Like, I'm going to pray to God I'm not getting in a car accident or throwing the ball for my dog the wrong way.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's just, I don't want to trip and fall in this hole that's on the sidewalk. I mean,
And that's a real life example of the debacle that is our government's first attempt at running healthcare.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, whatever the intentions might have been good, all this good stuff, but due to the nature of our political system, for one, and probably some kind of failures just in how it was passed and legislated, and some of the mechanisms in it just didn't work. And now we're living through the consequences of that.
For sure.
Even on just that general broad picture, it's like, well, they tried, I guess. And I don't think I could have expected them to do anything better.
Right.
Especially keeping that private insurance industry in the sense of essentially subsidizing them.
Yeah.
Which we saw how that worked out with the universities, So I'm not going to argue that it's not possible, for sure. Nobody's got the answer.
And I think that's what's so hard is, like, I mean, the ideal of it is so fantastic. And as Americans, it should be something that we get. There's lots of other countries that have it and are successful. Why can't America have it?
Well, because we're big and complicated.
I know.
We can learn things from other people, for sure. But, one thing to remember is that, and I won't even say America in particular, but every country is completely different.
Oh, for sure.
And I mean, we have a couple, extra, variables. I mean, we're huge, and we have all these little weird mini states inside that all have their own ways of running things, and they have their rights, and the federal government can't necessarily run everything, which is why, as a libertarian, I believe the federal government should just kind of take care of the major stuff, and stuff like healthcare. If we can't figure out as a state in Washington State, how we want our healthcare to run, we should not be punting the ball down to the up to the federal level and be like, okay, you guys figure this out.
Yeah.
Like, we should be able to figure this out. I mean, we have Seattle here.
Yeah.
If you guys can't figure out how to, the progressive utopianism, to run, healthcare, when you could do it in your own city if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
You could try to do it there, but why are you not doing it?
Yeah.
What's the deal there?
It's too much money.
It's too much money.
Too much money.
And yeah. Well, so what do we do about that? I don't know.
We got to change the way we think and change where we put our money and invest in ourselves and invest in our neighbor. And I think that is kind of what it boils down to for me. And what I have seen is that social media has made everyone disconnect.
Yeah, we all talked about this a little bit yesterday
at WRB.
I like this.
Yeah, it's just, as a society, we are so selfish now, and we don't care about the person that lives next door to us or the person that even shares a wall with us.
No.
We don't say hi in the hallway. We don't greet each other at the grocery store. I mean,
but if you agree with me on social media, now we're tight.
But now
and I may never have seen your face ever in my life, and you could be on the complete opposite side of the world, but we have a couple, general ideas and topic, maybe about politics or an opinion on somebody or something.
Yeah.
And now we're homies, but I don't know my neighbor's first name. Come on now.
And I think that's really important. And I think our Gen X, right? All the kids right now, Gen X.
The kids?
Yeah, the kids.
No, those are like Gen Z,
whatever,
something like that. There's
whatever
a few names I've heard
my nieces
around.
and nephews are in.
Yeah. The post-millennial era.
I really like to make it a priority when I'm around them, and it doesn't happen every time, but to not have my phone out, because I feel like our kids these days are they have tablets and phones and computers and all this stuff, and I really think it's important to teach them conversational skills and how to be in a social environment, and that is just so lacking. It's hard to sometimes get some of my nieces and nephews just to make eye contact.
Yeah.
And
it's strange.
I think that in itself is just, as a society, we've become so disconnected with each other. And it's just become about, how do I make myself better? How do I support my family? It's not about, how do I help my neighborhood? It's not about, I see this stray dog on the side of the road. I'm going to take him to the Humane Society because someone is really missing this dog. There's not enough people out there that care to help each other. And I think that is kind of the root of our generation, and where the shift needs to happen is there needs to be more people that care about someone they don't know or someone they have a very minimal relationship with and aren't as selfish anymore, and just kind of, we live selflessly instead of selfishly.
Well, the way I've been looking at it lately is, there's been a lot of talk about tribalism lately, right? Everybody's being tribal or reverting, or either that or we're just opening our eyes to the tribalism that always has been.
Yeah.
But I see more of a shift in tribalism. We're going from, the more classical version of tribalism from your neighborhood, your town, your school, and, the old days, the way people looked at community. And now that tribe isn't necessary anymore to some people to get by, because you got the internet.
Yeah.
You have a whatever tribe you want to belong to, you can find on the internet, and hey, I agree with all your guys' ideas, or I fit in over here. And it's kind of a curse and a blessing in a way, because it at once opens our world to, the idea that I have essentially the repository for all worldly knowledge is right here.
It's right in your hand.
Right here.
Yeah.
And I got to, realistically, in a developed nation, it's relatively affordable to have that access at your fingertips, at least in a way it has never, ever been before.
Yeah.
But we don't really know how to use this stuff yet. We're still learning. And there's consequences that we could never have seen that we got to deal with. And, some of it is amazing because if it wasn't for the internet, I don't think either of us would be attached to the people we're attached with
no
right
way.
now.
I would not have a fiance right now if it weren't for the internet.
I've been married for damn near 10 years and we met on the internet.
Yep.
Back in the earlier days.
Us too. I'm not even married yet.
Yeah. And it's it's a very common way to meet people now.
Yeah.
For 1,000 reasons, but
yeah.
And it works too. It's not just like a hookup thing anymore. It's like it can work. And so it's almost like if we were to focus that energy from, the broad down to, a more community level again.
Yeah.
We could still use social media like in a very productive way.
Right.
But we don't.
We just don't.
We're not ready for it.
And Jake says that to me all the time.
Yeah.
That's always, when we're in those heated discussions. See, I didn't call it an argument. Discussion.
Indeed.
He always brings that back. He's like, Morg, come on. It's media. It is all media. And I'm like, you know what? I hear you. I super hear you. I'm still going to argue with you.
Yeah, right.
I'm still going to be super passionate, but I hear you.
That's the beauty of the realm of ideas.
Yeah.
You can have a heated discussion just about anything you want.
Yep.
And you can pick a topic like healthcare that no one's really going to be right or wrong with because we don't know the answer.
No idea.
And you just go back and forth. You trade ideas and, it doesn't exist on a level it used to.
Well, and if I had the answer to healthcare, I would be so rich and potentially the first female president. So.
See, I would do it to make everybody shut up.
Well, for real though. Just like, okay, guys, we did it. Right. Be done.
I don't want anything.
It's over.
I don't want anything. I just want y'all to just stop. It's all good now. We can move on to another issue. We
can be friends again.
Do this. Exactly.
I can add you on Facebook. We're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I can tell you how many people have unfriended me when they saw I was a Bernie supporter. Oh, I lost like half my Facebook friends.
Yeah. And that's, thank God, because who needs those people in your life?
I know.
I think I talked about this last night. This is the problem when we get together and stuff and we have all these conversations. I don't remember who I had them with.
Who was saying what? Yeah.
And, but it was, what was it? We were saying the Bernie stuff. Crap, I just lost it. It was so good. I don't remember.
We were talking about everybody being nice to each other, caring about each other.
Civility or something or other. I don't know.
Anyways.
It was gold and I lost it.
Don will be here next time.
That's a pretty standard operating procedure for me.
And he'll pull it back.
Indeed. He'll bring me back in to normal. Yeah, God, it bugs me. Because it was about, society and, tribalism and, people talking to each other and not talking to each other. But either way, it's just, it would be nice if we can go back to being, it would be nice if your neighbor could be a conservative Orthodox Jew and you could be a staunch atheist progressive and you guys could still get along just fine. Easily.
I mean, those are basically my in-laws.
Yeah.
They're all conservative.
I remember. Well,
and here's the liberal coming into the family.
Well, you're at least
but
a
we all love each other so
side.
much, and there's so much respect there.
So the point that I was going to make, and I remember now.
Awesome.
It was about. I'm going to do it again.
Oh shoot! I have to stop talking and not look at you so you can remember.
Bad friend stock.
Okay.
This is what it was. It was. Those type of people that will unfriend you for being a Bernie supporter or whatever, especially without even reaching out to be. If they are so offended by this and they won't reach out to you, you should be happy to not have them in your life anymore. Because if you're not going to just be a decent human being and hold grudges against people for, thought crimes in your mind, what kind of person would do that to you?
Yeah.
I mean, who would do that, especially face to face, for one? Nobody would do that. Maybe a select few.
I would appreciate it, though, face to face. Like, at least you're,
You're definitely not going to get that
addressing
here,
oh, gosh, no.
Passive-aggressive capital of the world. Pacific
Welcome
Northwest.
to Seattle.
Yeah, man. If there's one thing those hardcore progressives do, it's they know how to be passive aggressive.
Which is so not me, though.
No, you like to be overtly aggressive.
And I'm a super progressive.
It's true. Well, you're kind of that activist-y type, though. So you're like, I'm going to get in there.
That's true.
You were, that's why you're perfect for, I wanted to call you a Salt of the Streets contributor because you're always like, if there's a protest, and I'm like, hey,
I'm going to be there.
I want boots on the ground, girl. Yep. Could you get there?
I will be there
like,
every time.
A Bernie rally? Of course I'll be there. I'm already there, man.
My face is already painted.
Wait. Do you guys paint faces?
No, I thought about it.
Do people do that?
I mean,
what would they paint them as?
You do whatever you want. Okay. Just blue. Or like purple, independent. Okay. I'm on my purple face.
Gotcha.
Purple people eater.
What color is the Libertarian Party? Probably naked.
Green?
That just seems right for libertarians. They're kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The party, anyways. The party is, due to its nature, can never be an actual party.
Yeah.
Because if you can't agree on anything other than being free, come on here, boys.
I mean, at least there's one thing.
Yeah.
Better than the Republican Party right now. Sorry.
Yo, it is.
Sorry.
It is tough to be a Republican these days.
Yeah.
Because depending on who you talk to, there's we got a few good people.
Oh, for sure.
We got a few good people in there that are saying the decent stuff. I like Ben Sass a lot. He's kind of a hawkish guy when it comes to foreign policy, but I like a little bit of that.
Uh-huh.
But for the most part, he's a good old boy from Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I follow him on Twitter. Mm-hmm. He's hilarious. He wrote a great book, which I have the audiobook of. It's all about hard work and, growing up in America and actually growing up with struggle or, doing things that doing crappy farm work. Mm-hmm. Gives you character. Everybody should do stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But we got a few guys. I think Rand Paul might be... He's a little different because he's a little on the outs of the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And the Freedom Caucus has gotten so corrupted by, the always Trumpers in my mind that, the Freedom Caucus used to be awesome and now I'm not a big fan. But we got a few voices there, I do worry about what the House is going to do with a majority because I don't know if we brought that up in the midterms. The Senate, Republicans gained 2 seats, Democrats lost 2, and then the Democrats retook the House with, a relatively narrowish majority. I mean, it's a pretty good split right now. Yeah. Nobody has a vast majority. Mm-hmm. But right now, the big talk is Nancy Pelosi going to get the speakership again? I think she will.
Yeah, she will.
But then, what's the move for the...
Right.
What's the move? You hear a lot of people talk about wanting to start the investigations into the Trump administration, and you hear the other side saying, we don't want to do that. Let's work on our policy that we know Trump will support, like infrastructure and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm be curious what's going to happen there, but all we can really do is wait and see.
Yep.
So do you want to just do a quick little fantasy jaunt, or you just want to jump out of here? I know football's about to start.
Yeah, my Seahawks are going to start in 8 minutes. But I can do fantasy real quick. Des Bryant was traded to the Saints. So that increases Drew Brees' quarterback fantasy value pretty significantly. Des Bryant's a solid wide receiver. Ingram's fantasy points will also increase, seeing as how the opposing defenses will not just have one person to target on the Saints offense. Traquan Smith is going to lose some fantasy value. He is not going to be the number 1 target for Breeze anymore because Bryant is coming in. So it will take Bryant a little bit to get used to the Saints offense, though. So I don't anticipate Smith's value going down within the next couple of weeks, but probably week 3 or 4 of Bryant being with the Saints, we're going to see a little bit of a decrease.
Very nice.
Anyways, that was kind of the big NFL news this week. We're really hoping the Hawks are going to beat the Rams today, but they are not at home.
Yeah.
And it's just not our season.
It is. It's a rebuilding year. We'll give them that. Another one.
And honestly, I'm happy with the record they have. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. And I have the same record in my fantasy team. So I can't talk too much trash.
I think we're both about the same, right? We're 5-4?
4-5. I'm 4-5.
I'm about to be 5-5 because I'm playing the Case Bowls.
Oh, yeah.
But he's having an off week so far anyways. I don't know. It's still pretty early in the day, so we'll find out. But.
Yeah, I mean, he always comes back, so whatever.
Yeah. Case Balls.
Regret.
I know you're listening to this. I'm coming after you one day. One day you're going to trip up. One of us
is going to beat you in the playoffs and you're going to cry. And neither of us are going to feel bad.
All you need is one loss. Yeah, one random fluke of a loss. Playoffs. And right now you're holding it out for the playoffs, buddy. So we're coming for you.
Coming.
And on that note,
Don, we miss you.
We do. And I will see you next week, I'm sure. Hope you're feeling better, buddy.
Happy Veterans Day.
Indeed. Peace out, Girl Scout. We don't have a line. Oh, no. I didn't think about that.
On Wednesdays,
I don't think
we wear pink.
Okay. It's a good line.
Thank you.
We'll end it at that. Wednesdays, we wear pink. Bye, Felicia.